So what's going on, people? It's JM Speakboxing. Make sure you subscribe to my channel before you click onto any of my videos. Also, comment below in the comment section if you have any opinions on what I'm saying in my videos. So, former super bantamweight champion and featherweight champion Carl Frampton is very interested apparently in making a fight between these two opponents. The first opponent is IBF featherweight champion Lee Selby. Lee Selby is a very technical fighter. He's very slick. He's got long arms and he likes to move around the ring and pot shot at guys, break guys down, because he's not the most powerful of fighters. Lee Selby hasn't really got much punching power, but he likes to break guys down and totally outbox guys, and he's a very classy fighter, Lee Selby. And I think the fight with Carl Frampton will be very interesting because Carl Frampton is a technician in the ring. Don't get me wrong, Carl Frampton, if he's under pressure and a guy is putting it on him, he will fight back. Carl Frampton is one of them fighters. He will trade with you, he will get in the trenches with you and slug it. But I think him and Lee Selby, that fight wouldn't be like that at all, because both guys are very technical and Carl Frampton has a very technical boxing brain and he knows what he's doing in the ring. He knows how to nick rounds, he knows how to do enough to win the rounds. He was doing this against Scott Quigg, and that's what got him the victory over Scott Quigg, in my opinion. Like, he did enough early on in the fight to get the nod and win a split decision. So the fight with Lee Selby, I think, would be a very good fight for Carl Frampton. But the one thing that could let Lee Selby down in the fight is his punching power. Like I said, Carl Frampton could disregard Lee Selby's punching power if it's not affecting him and just try and get on top of Lee Selby. But Lee Selby is a very classy fighter, and I just can't see Carl Frampton getting on him too much. But that's something you could have to think about in that fight, because Lee Selby isn't the biggest puncher and Carl Frampton has a bit of a punch on him. Don't get it wrong, Carl Frampton has a bit of power behind his shots. Like, a lot of people underestimate Carl Frampton's power. Like, he hurt Leo Santa Cruz in the first fight. No one had really hurt Leo Santa Cruz like that before in his career. So yeah, that would be a very interesting fight. Also, you got a fight between WBO featherweight champion Oscar Valdez. Carl Frampton says if he can't get the fight with Lee Selby, then he would be interested in facing Valdez. Valdez is fighting a guy called Miguel Mariga on the 22nd of April on the Ramirez Burzak undercard. It's a top ranked show. He's promoted by Bob Arum. But I see Oscar Valdez beating Mariga with pretty much his power and his pressure. I think he'll be able to take a guy like Mariga out of there quickly. So I don't really see that as an obstacle to making the Frampton Valdez fight, because Mariga, who was totally outclassed by Nicholas Walters a year or so back, so that's a possible fight. And also, that fight could be made in Belfast. Carl Frampton says he would like to have that fight in Belfast. He'd like to have the Selby fight in Belfast. Carl Frampton's next fight, I think, is definitely going to be in Belfast. Like, I don't see him travelling to the States. I don't see him going to Wales. I think he wants to come home now. He's had 2 fights. No, actually, he had 1 fight against Gonzalez in the States, and then he fought Quigg in the UK, and then he had 2 fights in America against Santa Cruz. So yeah, I think he wants to come home now and have a fight at Belfast, in Belfast, against a good opponent, against a world champion, and give back to his fans who travelled over to watch him fight in the States. So I see Carl Frampton fighting in his backyard in his next fight. I don't think he'll fight Santa Cruz in his next fight, because I know a lot of people are saying they want to see the 3rd fight with Leo Santa Cruz, but I don't think Leo Santa Cruz's team wants him to travel to Belfast. I think they can see Santa Cruz fighting in the States and making money fighting guys in his own backyard himself. Like, he's just been ordered by the WBA to face Abdo Mares in a second fight, because Abdo Mares recently won the WBA regular belt off Coelho, and them two are probably going to have a fight again because I think Leo Santa Cruz knows he can beat Abner Mares, and he knows it'll be a good fight because the first fight was a great fight. It was a tear up, and I just see him beating Mares in a more convincing fashion. And I think if he can make easy money, he'll do that. And there's no risk really in the fight because if he goes to Belfast, he'll be surrounded by 30,000 Northern Irish fans screaming for his blood. So I think Santa Cruz will stay for the easy option and fight Mares next in his title defence. So yeah, the possible fights for Carl Frampton next is going to be Lee Selby or Oscar Valdez, in my opinion. I don't see Carl Frampton fighting a scrub at this stage of his career because Carl Frampton's gone past that level now. The last scrub he really fought was Chris Avalos in the Odyssey Arena in Northern Ireland in Belfast. So I see him being past that level now. So I think all the fights Carl Frampton's going to have now are going to be against big opposition because he's even said in past interviews he hasn't got long left in the sport. He wants to create his legacy, and all fights going forward now are going to be big fights. And I believe Carl Frampton when he says that. I believe his promoter Barry McGuigan. I just think it's his time now. It's at his peak, and I think he's going to be in some great fights before he retires. So yeah, this is just my opinion on this. Comment below in the comment section your own opinion. JM.